Anna, AI is going to obviously impact our health, and I mean, it's going to give us a whole new insight into food. You work in that area. What are the changes you're actually seeing right now?
Yes, of course, it's the area of food is not the fastest user of AI. Let's be realistic, but it's very, very important, yeah, because we have, already with the health, there were major steps to put more data about health and make it available, and European health records. So with food, we are now in the stage where we are doing something similar, or at least going into this direction, that we can record data about food and about its nutritional characteristics, and it can be combined with the data about health and also the data about health of a particular person, not only about health in general, but personalized medicine, but also in combination of like personalized diets, and to steer towards better health, having all this information. And we get to have it more and more of such information.
This medicine has been personalized for thousands of years, but I think what we're seeing with AI is a precision medicine we've never seen before. And I think that this precision is what's going to lead to hyper-personalization. You know, so what's good for you might necessarily be good for me, because what they're finding a lot with AI is the importance, say, for example, what you just spoken about is the microbiome. And the microbiome doesn't just belong in our gut, it belongs in the soil. So this is the connection between our well-being with what comes out of the ground, which is food. And this is having a huge impact on ag science as well, isn't it? Agricultural science. So there's such a crossover because it's all based off data, and it's based off what the AI can run over. But, you know, there's a whole issue of ethics to be considered around sort of medical data. How do you see this kind of working out? Because we do need to accelerate in this field. You know, both of them are evolving at this moment in time, but how do you see us being able to get around sort of the ethical use of data?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the that we have more opportunities to develop precision medicine, or it's already partly being developed, and with the food is also part of it. Well, we sometimes underestimate how important it is. So in precision medicine, there are many developments, and often investments are huge, because also there are businesses, very rich pharma businesses standing behind them that sell drugs to people, but behind food often you have farmers and not too much lobby, and insufficient research and developments are being done. But this is maybe even more important part than medicine, because food is something what can prevent us from being sick. And we don't often, for example, if again addressing ethics, we often, first, we don't have often the data at all about this or another aspect. B, there is a lot of innovation happening with food industry itself, taken away even AI. For example, it's a very well-known fact that, for example, nutritional characteristics of food are declining. So, for example, tomatoes, as they were 50 years ago, they were more nutritious than they are now. So even as a human, you eat maybe the same kind of meal, but you get less nutrition, and it can make you sick. And frankly speaking, we don't know where this can lead you, because we don't really study this that much. So there is also supplement industry, and then you don't get it with your normal meal, eat supplements. But again, it's very difficult. So it would be more better to trace this and to try to prevent sicknesses. And there are also diseases coming up with which probably also food very likely contributes. Again, we don't have evidence often if it's the case that new sicknesses which did not exist earlier, also from how we grow up the food. And it's indeed connected also with, it starts from soil. And soil is most of the soil is not healthy in the European Union, so this is also a problem. And this is also the area where we work on in Wageningen on soil science, and particularly on European project Soil-wise, we do try to collect data and make it more accessible, that people at least are able to understand what is going on with this domain, and what is good practice, what is bad practice, what is happening at all, what could be the future. And it's heavily also underfunded, this area. So so sometimes it's really, I ask ethically, are we doing the right things often with many of these developments? And often it just boils down to the fact that the data is not there, is not generated, there is no capacity and no finance and no resources and no finances to generate this data on which we can do something, such meaningful predictions.
I think, though, we're going to see massive change, because you spoke about kind of new industry, and that's leading to the wellness and longevity industries as such. They're going to be worth, I don't know how many billions in the next 10 years, they're predicting, as people are living longer. But this will have to go back to the food, because you spoke about supplements. The problem with supplementation is that you could take too much, it can affect other pathways in the body. And this is what they're discovering also. You can't overtake one, because there's a balance in the body. So I think it's been easier for the medical world, because they've had data on, data sets for, decades. But earlier, I think it was in 2025, they ran all the data sets through machine learning, right, that they had. And they found out, not in days and months or years, they found out in hours, literally, how connected everything was to the health and well-being of the gut, which ties into the soil, which ties into the food. And that, like what you're talking about, the best medicine is the prevention, which they're finding out is like everything is gut health, like everything, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, heart disease, everything goes back to the well-being of the gut. So this ties in also with old, I'm not getting into it, but it ties into the old wisdom. All health begins in the gut, doesn't it? So, and that's tied in with the food. It's directly tied into food, but somehow we lost our way. I think that, there's also fermentation was lost with the new technology of the refrigeration, but it's kind of coming back full circle now, because they know that this is a way to manage the health of the gut also with fermentation. It's data that's there also, and that'll go right back again into the food industry. But it's been easier for the medical industry because they've had the data sets. But I can see huge growth in ag AI, isn't that what they're calling it? Because that's where there's a crucial missing part there of those data sets. They're not there, So who's going to be the first to invest in that? Will it be the longevity people? Will it be the wellness people? Because the trend is happening right across the world, isn't it? Right now, it's the urgency to get the data sets.
Yeah, I think it's slowly and surely comes into the game. And I also, of course, health industry is better than food industry, but also there a lot of data, is not collected, not available, is still not solved the problem. But okay, the food industry is even, or food industry, but also food sector as a whole is has even more, needs even to catch up even more on this. And it's very, very important to have this data and to be able to work with it. And also, who will take the lead? Is indeed maybe there will be more people